Hi again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of My Faith with Homer and Pip. Homer?
Always start with Mother Teresa. It's not any different. It's the shortest version. I love it. When I get to a million times, that'll be too many. They asked her secret. She said, "My secret is a very simple one. I pray." And they said, "That's it?" And she said, "That's it." Tommy?
Well, I just came across a quote from the Venerable Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen from a book of his, one of many. If you do not live what you believe, you will end up believing what you live. There's some spiritual wisdom. And according to Homer, the wonderful guest we have, Bobby Meuler, does live his faith. We're so thankful to have him on My Faith with Homer and Pip. With the Homer, who got together with the Holy Spirit for this idea, and our marvelous producer, Brett Young. I'm Tommy Pippins. All right, Homer, tee it off. Bobby, so great to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Pip.
I know many things about Bobby Meuler, but all of them don't mean diddly. Now, this is his first ever, I'm assuming, spiritual resume. The world will have this forever anytime he wants to tell people what he's really like. And this is how it works. Where do you decide to start the story of my faith? How old, where you were? It's up to you. Take it away.
Thanks, Pip, and thanks, Homer. When I thought about that, and it came to me pretty quickly. I'm blessed to be. I think it started the day I was born. I say this because I'm the youngest of 12 children. And I always have this great, this you maybe can't see it, but it's a great classic photo of my siblings, my 11 siblings, and my wonderful parents. So being the youngest of 12, I like to say it really started the day I was born. So blessed to be part of a huge family. A lot of times people don't believe that I'm the youngest of 12, and then I rattle off, Marilyn, Larry, Michael, Greg, Phil, Andy, Joanne, Steve, Mark, Ken, Laura, Bob. So when you rattle off those names, they go, well, I guess he is the youngest of 12. I think about, how blessed I am to be part of that family. From little on, my parents just taught us, and I don't want to say made us, but really just enriched us. Every day, every night, we said the rosary after dinner, every single night, regardless. After dinner, on your knees, you say the rosary. And that's been embedded in my mind. When you're real little, you're not really understanding, why are we doing this? Does everybody do this? And maybe it was, we kind of joked around the house that it was a way for my dad to make sure that none of the neighbors wanted to stay at the Meuler house for dinner, because, my dad would say, if they stay at our house for dinner, then they have to pray the rosary with us afterwards. And boy, those kids were right out of the house. They didn't want to stick around. So that's, number one. Number two, so when everyone else was out of the house, it was just my mother and I. Everyone else was in school. So for at least a couple of years, it was just my mother and I. And we would go to mass every day. My mother religiously went to mass every day. So I grew up in the St. Anne's Parish in Milwaukee's North Side. So right there, every single day, I'd walk to St. Anne's with my mother, go to 8 o'clock mass. And those things just became a part of me. And not knowing at first, why you're doing that. But then as you grow into it, and get a little bit older, you understand, well, maybe this is why our parents did that. Maybe, it was a good, it was a great upbringing. Maybe at the time you don't think so, but years back you look at it and you go, a tremendous upbringing. So I've been tremendously blessed with a large family, as I know you are, Homer. And it's, I don't think it's without God. I don't think it's without the power of God. I think about, not just that upbringing, but I think the very first time, and you talk about the power of prayer, my mother, both my parents were very prayerful, but my mother, when my dad passed in 1995, and my mother never drove a car. So a few of us would go and take her shopping or do whatever she needed. But for that short period of time after my dad died, my mother would you know, you'd go drop her off back at home, and she would just say, you know, I just can't be without him. I just pray to God to take me. I just don't, I can't be without him. And my mother then, less than 3 months later, you know, died of a massive heart attack. Now, is it, you know, is it coincidence? Whatever it was. But I just remember always my mother, you know, praying to God. I want to be with him. I don't want to be without him. And, you know, the more and more I sit back and I think about that, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm pretty sure he was listening, or I know he was listening. He didn't want this woman to be without this man who they raised 12 children with, a bunch of grandchildren, were together 55, 56 years. So I think that really, obviously coupled with a lot of things in my life, but that really was the first time I think that I'm like, yeah, I think he's listening. So that's just a short.
I want to know at what age and when you decided that it was your faith. You were raised a certain way, your parents, your family, but at some day you have to decide and act that I buy this. I'm
Correct.
into it. When?
Well, I think so, you know, I benefited from having, you know, Catholic education my entire life, grade school, high school, college. I would say probably, I'm not, I say definitely in my high school, at my high school times, we had a class at Marquette High School called aesthetical theology. So most of the people called it varsity prayer. Okay, if you could, I guess if you couldn't make a varsity sport, which I couldn't make any varsity sports, I thought, well, then I can get in varsity prayer because I could at least do that. And I would say at that time, you know, it was just a small group of classmates, 15, 20 of us in a room. And I think I believe it was junior year in high school. And I'm very confident that that's when it really hit me that, yeah, yes, that I think that's when it hit me the most. But I certainly think all that upbringing for all those years previous to that, you know, meant so much. But I would say my high school, probably my junior year of high school.
There's a discussion now of how small a percentage of people, young people, still go to church. You still go to church. Well,
I do.
What has kept you doing that? And I ask it because apparently younger people don't have whatever it is you have.
Well, and to be brutally honest, you know, there was a stretch of several years there, maybe. I think what happens is through high school and then in college, maybe for some, I probably didn't go to masses as regularly as I do. And then I think you settle down, maybe you get a little mature, you marry, you have some children. I think even previous to that, you start, you know, you make sure that, well, number one, I want to make sure making my mother happy, because that's what she would have wanted me to do. But I think for me, it's a getaway from the hectic daily life, okay, of maybe being angry at somebody, maybe you know, being critical of too much stuff. It just gets you away and allows you to just, you know, for that hour or so, allows you to just be at peace, or just spend some time other than the rat race of the world. I find the community of a parish community. I have a lot of friends at Christ King Parish, of where I belong. I'm as active as I can be right now. I lecture there. I just think it really helps me get through the week. Even if it's just one day, or some other times I go for the early mass in the morning, it helps me get through the week. You know, I always think, you and I joke sometimes about Vince Lombardi saying that he went to mass every single day. Of course, he always said I went to mass every day because if God knew how I treated the players during the day, I needed to go and ask for some forgiveness. But I think it really does help me focus, and gives me a reason that, you know, that's really the reason. It's not, you know, just working hard and putting food on the plate. It really that for me, it helps me get through the week.
All right. If you ran into somebody who you knew had a growing faith and they want to know why, and you have 60 seconds, only 60 seconds, what are you going to say to them to best explain your faith and to help them understand why it should continue to grow for them?
Well, I think, okay. You have to think a little bit on that. But my faith, I think, betters me. My faith helps me become a man for others. It continuously helps me be a better father, maybe a better husband. Um, it has allowed me to continue to enjoy life, to reflect upon all of my blessings, to continue to to want to be to want to do good for what God wants us to do. I mean, He wants us to, I keep on saying be a man for others, but really, that's what it's all about. To give back, to have a purpose in life. If you want to have a purpose in life, I believe having a deep faith allows you to do that.
There it is, Tommy, and under 60 seconds.
That was beautiful. Beautiful. Bobby Meuler is our guest on My Faith with Homer and Pip with a Homer. Our producer, Brent Young. I'm Tommy Pippins. And Bobby, as I listen to you, you're like Homer, always up, always encouraging, infectious to be around you. It's like the spirit lives in you. And I may be off on this, but my sense is that no matter what you've gone through or what have you, you will have joy in the midst of the ups and the downs. Am I in the ballpark on that?
Well, that means you don't completely know me, but that's okay. Yes, you are. You are absolutely. I mean, I have a kind of a bad German temper. So every once in a while that explodes. But you're right. Yeah, I just continuously get back every single day. I think of, the huge family that I am from. I am so blessed. I mean, all 12 of us are still alive right now. I mean, the amount of nieces and nephews I have, there's not a day actually that goes by that I don't talk to my parents. Every single day I talk to my parents. And as you two know, you don't forget them. They could be, but every single day I talk to my mother and my father. And you know what? Sometimes, and I'll ask them, what should I do? What would you do? And I'm listening to them. And but I am my family. How could anybody be more blessed than that? It's beyond phenomenal. So I've been, you know what? You can have the biggest bank account in the world, but I'll tell you what, if you don't have the richness of family and friends, great friends, but you have so many friends because you have such a big family. So you have to be thankful for that, and you got to be thankful for somebody for it. It just doesn't happen. So, and I'm thankful for God for giving me all that. That's, you can't explain it any other way.
Attitude of gratitude. It's fabulous. Yeah. And I don't want to let this podcast end. Your family, unspeakable. I mean, 12 children, praying the rosary, dad initiating that, mom going to mass. As you know, they were saints on earth, they're saints in heaven. So they're definitely praying for all as you're praying for them. Bobby, how has your faith looked in terms of difficult times, challenges you may have faced, if you care to share that?
Yeah. There were, when my parents passed, and being the youngest of 12, I'm going to be a little bit younger. So you're kind of at first maybe a little angry that, why am I losing my parents so young? So I was 35, not terribly young, but so at first you're questioning that. Why am I losing my parents so young? And I know a lot of people lose them a lot earlier than that. So that was a little bit of a difficult time because they both passed within 3 months of each other. But so I did a lot of, I kind of kept a lot of things in and didn't even talk to, I didn't really talk to other people about it. Didn't talk to my wife about it. Well, she wasn't my wife at the time, but I didn't talk to her about it. Didn't really talk to my siblings. There was one sibling in particular, I would meet with and we would talk about that. But so then I was maybe a little angry for a little bit. But then I thought, well, you can't be angry. You were blessed with this. You have to always go back to what you were blessed with. There's been other times that, where I've lost a job. Everybody, has those difficult times in their life. So I continue to, my mother would always say to somebody, if you didn't go to mass, she would say, well, the next time, oh, you didn't go to mass, or you didn't have time to go to mass. She'd say, well, maybe the next time when you're asking God for something, maybe he'll say, oh, sorry, I don't have time for you today. So I think we have to always give God just a couple minutes out of the day, 24 hours in a day. If you give him just a couple minutes, I think it's helpful. So that's what, even through those challenging times, what I've learned is that, give him a couple minutes a day, then getting through those challenging times is a little bit easier. So doesn't automatically make it that easier, but it just, I consider that relationship that I have with God to help me get through these difficult times on a daily basis.
That's super. It was a conversation I was involved in the other day about prayer. And you can check the boxes, the rosary, the chaplet, mass, whatever it might be, confession. But do I take time to pray? I can watch the Packers and go to meetings. We can do this wonderful podcast, but do I take the time? And someone said, Bobby, that when Jesus was on the cross and said, I thirst, well, he's fully human, fully man, so he wanted something. No, the belief is that he was saying, I thirst for you to spend time with me. Bobby, I thirst. Homer, I thirst. Tommy, I thirst. Brent, I thirst. Everybody out there, put your name in there. I thirst. What do you make of that, especially as it relates to the time that you do give to the Lord?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I agree. I think, and now as we talk about it, we're all on the same page. If I would, sometimes when you say this to others that have, zero belief or very little belief, they think it doesn't, they think it doesn't mean anything. I think he wants us to be his friend. What would we do? How would you treat somebody else? He wants you to be his friend. And how do you treat your closest friend? How do you want to, and your closest friends, usually your family, your closest friends are there for you. And I think I don't just think, I know that's what it's about. It's that person that is, knows that, don't let me be not a part of your life, because if I'm a part of your life, I'm going to, your life's going to be more enriched. And, but I do, I think about my, it's interesting you just put it that way with the thirst. I had a Reverend uncle, Father Robert Gassard, who was a Jesuit priest. And I remember going to see him as he was dying. And I was in his hospital room with him, and he said that he wanted some water, but he couldn't drink. So my mother was in the room and some other people, and he just wanted us to dab some water on his lips. It was almost like this was Jesus lying in the bed there, that you were, it made you just have a little flashback of what you had learned. But yeah, I'm a believer, and I'm proud of it. I mean, God's a part of my life. There's not a day that, I don't stop and just, saying a Hail Mary is pretty quick. It doesn't take that long, so I think I would think it benefits everyone. You can't force feed it onto people, but certainly it's, it's a part of my life, and it helps me get through every day.
Thank you for
Tommy,
that.
I got one because
Bobby,
you
go
brought
right
it
ahead.
up. Given you talked about where you went to school and stuff, I got to believe there were a number of people in your life that touched you with your faith, or the view of faith and the things that you either learned or just absorbed. Are there people outside of your family that you were exposed to that you still remember now as a result of anything about their faith, your faith, of faith,
Yeah.
stood out?
Yeah, there's one in particular, John Sipe, who was one of my first, was my first sales manager in publishing sales. He had, strangely enough, ended up being the youngest. He was the youngest of 10. So we had that in common. But John, very faithful man, also, just, and to this day, we still, we keep in touch. He's still alive. God bless him. He's in his 80s. He he hired me, that not just, we weren't just, we didn't just work together. We became really close friends. He showed caring about me. He has to this day really, I don't want to, he's been my mentor. He was one of my true mentors in the business world, but then also a mentor of really how to go above and beyond, how to treat customers, but then really how to treat people. And he taught me a lot and still does to this day. I mean, we reach out every once in a while, either on text messages or a phone call here and there. But so he really, of anybody outside of the family, and others like in a classroom or something, but really he's been the real, he has really touched my life, and still does. So it's like I said, the guy who took a chance on me, hired me, and then wasn't really a boss to me, but was more like a father figure and really wanted me to be successful. A lot of the times when I wasn't, he really pulled me in and was like, this is what we have to do now. Things aren't going, he wanted me to be successful. So when I look at him and think about him, to me, that was really God, God's presence in him, because God always, how God treats us and wants us to live our life. That was really John. God was in John Sipe, who just, really put his arms around me and became a close friend to this day. I mean, he's just a tremendous man, a great man. If I could be half the man that guy is, then I'll do okay.
All right, Tommy, let me see you do better than that.
No, I can't. I think we're good. Bobby, the time goes so quickly, but is there anything else you want someone out there who may be really struggling and, like you say, no faith, or I've had faith, it's not working for me, the results aren't great, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I've lost a loved one, whatever. And what do you say there? Because you've got such a positive attitude.
I don't know. I think you just have to give it a chance. What can you lose? I mean, I think regardless of what your faith is, Catholic, Lutheran, Protestant, whatever it is, I think you have to have, I always look at people, and you've met so many people throughout your lives, the ones that seem to be the best, strong family foundation, but I think the ones that really, that strong connection to a faith, strong connection within a parish, I think it goes a long way, or I know it goes a long way. When you have nowhere else to turn, that seems to me to be the place to be. So I just say, give it a chance. So if you can't, you got nothing to lose, give it a chance. Go and, because I would guarantee you, I'm not a big time gambler betting man, although I've won a few bets from Homer, but that's beside the point. But I would say you just have to give it a chance, because you know what, you're not going to go wrong with it. For those, you really need to, take some time and give it a chance, because that's what, God's not saying give it a chance just for the heck of it. It works. So that's all you can't force feed anything, but you can say it works. one last real quick thing I have to mention. So Homer might have mentioned to you, so I have a business now. I was in the corporate world for many years, and I now own a bar restaurant, Bobby's Bar. So I have a good connection. I'm very fortunate to have a connection with the Archbishop Listecki, Father Philip from Christ King and things. But they were in here. They came in here shortly after I had opened. I was open for maybe about 6-7 months at the time, maybe a little bit longer. So the Archbishop was coming in to bless my bar. Homer, I
Wow.
think I might have showed you pictures of this, but this is another point where it really hit me of my belief. And the Archbishop Listecki said, well, where can we go and stand to bless? You know, there actually is a bar blessing, believe it or not, in a book. And his father owned a bar, Archbishop Listecki, south side of Chicago. So he said, where do you think you need the most help? And like everyone at that time, maybe I was short a cook. I needed some help in the kitchen. I said, well, in the kitchen area. He said, well, let's go back in this area, waitress station, and then we'll do the blessing here. He read it. We had a candle, did the whole blessing. And I am not lying. 2 days later, a gentleman walks in my bar looking for a job. Look, he's a cook looking for a job. Less than a week later, that guy is in my kitchen cooking. Now, you can say whatever you want to say, but if the Archbishop gives a blessing right there, and less than 48 hours later, some guy walks into my door saying, I want to be a cook, I don't know. You tell me.
Well, you
All I
need to
gotta
tell
say
people
is
how tough it is to find a cook. Tell
Well,
people how tough it is to find a cook as to how much that stands out.
yeah. So that hit me like anything, like anything that, well, there's the power of prayer. Now, we're not saying that everything automatically, you know, it's not curing cancer. It's not doing whatever. However, it ain't hurting. It ain't hurting. So
Yeah, that's
I had to
great.
get that one in there. So
That is just great. That sounds like a God connection for sure.
yes.
And the God of the universe cares about Bobby and your bar and helping out in the restaurant and getting a cook. That's super. Are we done, Homer? Because this is just go on
Yeah,
forever.
other than the announcement that Bart Starr's coming to his bar
Well,
soon.
that's right.
Now,
That's right. We have to make that
Bart,
announcement.
we're not bringing him back from the dead, but the closest thing you will ever see that looks exactly like Bart Starr, full size, soon to Bobby's Bar.
He's coming to
I
Bobby's
wonder-
Bar. Homer, it'll be right after the Packers now defeat the San Francisco 49ers. Then Bart will be here when they play in the NFC Championship game. So everyone go to Mass on Sunday or Saturday. You need to go before Sunday. Sunday you'll be praying for the NFC Championship game. You better go this week a couple times, right? For the Saturday game.
There's no risk to this because it can be edited out.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Very good.
Well,
Yeah.
something tells me, Homer, I've seen that maybe life size and
Yeah.
somewhere else, and you have a connection to that. So, Bobby, I want to stop in anyway to see you. It's been great reconnecting on this level. You and the Holy Spirit knocked it right out of the park. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pip. I appreciate it. God bless you.
And a great connection with Homer. God bless you.
Thanks a lot. See you, home team.
Yeah, you betcha. So for Bobby, our special guest, Bobby Meuler, for our producer, Brent Young, and the Homer, he and the Holy Spirit, again, making all this happen. We praise God for that. And we just hope and pray that anything you hear on this podcast, My Faith with Homer and Pip, helps you on your journey to and through the cross. We take different directions, but we're all headed to the same location. Take care. God bless, and see you next time on My Faith with Homer and Pip.